Joab was told, "Behold, the king weeps and mourns for Absalom." The victory that day was turned into mourning among all the people, for the people heard it and said that day, "The king grieves for his son." The people sneaked into the city that day, as people who are ashamed steal away when they flee in battle. The king covered his face, and the king cried with a loud voice, "My son, Absalom! My son, my son!" Joab came into the king and said, "Today you have shamed the face of your servants who today have saved your life and the life of your sons and your daughters and the lives of your wives and the lives of your concubines, in that you love those who hate you and hate those who love you. For you have declared today that princes and servants are nothing to you. For today I perceive that if Absalom had lived and that we had all died today, then it would have pleased you well. Now therefore, arise, go out, and speak to comfort your servants. For I swear by Yahweh that if you don't go out, not a man will stay with you this night. That would be worse to you than all the evil that has happened to you from your youth until now." Then the king arose and sat in the gate. The people were all told, "Behold, the king is sitting in the gate." All the people came before the king. Now Israel had fled, every man to his tent. All the people were at strife throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, "The king has delivered us out of the hand of our enemies, and he saved us out of the hand of the Philistines, and now he has fled out of the land from Absalom. Absalom, whom we appointed over us, is dead in battle. Now therefore, why don't you speak a word of bringing the king back?" King David sent to Zadok and to Abiathar the priest, saying, "Speak to the elders of Judah, saying, why are you the last to bring the king back to his house? Since the speech of all Israel has come to the king to return him to his house. You are my brothers, you are my bone and my flesh. Why then are you the last to bring back the king? Say to Amasa, aren't you my bone and my flesh? God do so to me, and more also, if you aren't the captain of the army before me continually instead of Joab." He bowed the hearts of all the men to Judah, even as one man, so that they sent to the king, saying, "Return, you and all your servants." So the king returned and came to the Jordan. Judah came to Gilgal to go to meet the king, to bring the king over Jordan. Shimei, the son of Gera, the Benjaminite, who was of Bahurim, hurried and came down with the men of Judah to meet King David. There were 1,000 men of Benjamin with him, and Ziba, the servant of Saul's house, and his 15 sons and his 20 servants with him. And they went through the house, and they went through the Jordan in the presence of the king. A ferryboat went to bring over the king's household, and to do what he thought good. Shimei, the son of Gera, fell down before the king when he had come over the Jordan. He said to the king, "Don't let my lord impute iniquity on me, or remember that which your servant did perversely the day my lord the king went out of Jerusalem, that the king should take it to his heart. For your servant knows that I have sinned. Therefore, behold, I have come today as the first of the house of Joseph to go down to meet my lord the king." But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, answered, "Shouldn't Shimei be put to death for this, because he cursed Yahweh's anointed?" David said, "What have I to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah, that you should be adversaries to me today? Shall any man be put to death today in Jerusalem? For I don't know that I am king over Israel today. For don't I know that I am king over Israel today?" The king said to Shimei, "You will not die." The king swore to him. Mephibosheth, the son of Saul, came down to meet the king, and he had neither groomed his feet, nor trimmed his beard, nor washed his clothes from the day the king departed until the day he came home in peace. When he had come to Jerusalem to meet the king said to him, "Why didn't you go with me, Mephibosheth?" He answered, "My lord, O king, my servant deceived me. For your servant said, I will saddle a donkey for myself, that I may ride on it and go with the king, because your servant is lame. He has slandered your servant to my lord the king, but my lord the king is an angel of God. Therefore do what is good in your eyes. For all my father's house were but dead men before my lord the king, yet you set your servant among those who ate at your own table. What right, therefore, have I yet that I should appeal any more to the king?" The king said to him, "Why do you speak any more of your matters? I say, you and Ziba divide the land." Mephibosheth said to the king, "Yes, let him take all, because my lord the king has come in peace to his own house." Barzillai the Gileadite came down from Rogelim, and he went over the Jordan with the king to conduct him over the Jordan. Now Barzillai was a very aged man, even 80 years old. He had provided the king with sustenance while he stayed in Mahanaim, for he was a very great man. The king said to Barzillai, "Come over with me, and I will sustain you with me in Jerusalem." Barzillai said to the king, "How many are the days of the years of your life, that I should go up with the king to Jerusalem? I am 80 years old today. Can I discern between good and bad? Can your servant taste what I eat or what I drink? Can I hear the voice of singing men and singing women any more? Why then should your servant be a burden to my lord the king? Your servant will just go over the Jordan with the king. Why should the king repay me with such a reward? Please, let your servant turn back around, that I may die in my own city, by the grave of my father and my mother. But behold, your servant Chimham, let him go over with my lord the king, and do to him what shall seem good to you." The king answered, "Chimham shall go over with me, and I will do to him that which shall seem good to you. Whatever you request of me, that I will do for you." All the people went over the Jordan, and the king went over. Then the king kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and he returned to his own place. So the king went over to Gilgal, and Chimham went over with him. All the people of Judah brought the king over, and also half the people of Israel. Behold, all the men of Israel came to the king and said to the king, "Why have our brothers, the men of Judah, stole you away, and brought the king and his household over the Jordan, and all David's men with him?" All the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, "Because the king is a close relative to us." "Why then are you angry about this matter? Have we eaten at all at the king's cost? Or has he given us any gift?" The men of Israel answered the men of Judah and said, "We have 10 parts in the king, and we have also more claim to David than you. Why then did you despise us, that our advice should not be first had in bringing back our king?" The words of the men of Judah were fiercer than the words of the men of Israel. There happened to be there a wicked fellow, whose name was Sheba, the son of Bichri, a Benjaminite. And he blew his trumpet and said, "We have no portion in David, neither have we an inheritance in the son of Jesse. Every man to his tents, Israel." So all the men of Israel went up from following David, and followed Sheba, the son of Bichri. But the men of Judah joined with their king, from the Jordan even to Jerusalem. David came to his house at Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 women, his concubines, whom he had left to keep the house, and he put them in custody and provided them with sustenance, but didn't go into them. So they were shut up to the day of their death, living in widowhood. Then the king said to Amasa, "Call me the men of Judah together within 3 days, and be here present." So Amasa went to call the men of Judah together, but he stayed longer than the set time which had been appointed him. David said to Abishai, "Now Sheba the son of Bichri will do to us more harm than Absalom did. Take your lord's servant and pursue after him, lest he get himself fortified cities and escape out of our sight." Joab's men went out after him, with the Cherethites, the Pelethites, and all the mighty men, and they went out of Jerusalem to pursue Sheba the son of Bichri. When they were at the great stone which is in Gibeon, Amasa came to meet them. Joab was clothed in his apparel of war that he had put on it, and on it was a sash with a sword fastened at his waist in its sheath. And as he went along, it fell out. Joab said to Amasa, "Is it well with you, my brother?" Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him. But Amasa took no heed to the sword that was in Joab's hand. So he struck him with it in the body and shed out his bowels on the ground, and didn't strike him again, and he died. Joab and Abishai his brother pursued Sheba to the son of Bichri. One of Joab's young men stood by him and said, "He who favours Joab, and he who is for David, let him follow Joab." Amasa lay, wallowing in his blood in the middle of the hallway. When the man saw all the people stood still, he carried Amasa out of the highway into the field, and cast a garment over him when he saw that everyone who came by stood still. When he was removed out of the highway, all the people went on after Joab to pursue Sheba the son of Bichri. He went through all the tribes of Israel to Abel, to Beth-Maachah, and the Berites. They were gathered together and went also after him. They came and besieged him in Abel of Beth-Maachah, and they cast up a mound against the city, and it stood against the rampart, and all the people who were with Joab battered the wall to throw it down. Then a wise woman cried out in the city, "Hear, hear! Please say to Joab, 'Come near here, that I may speak to you.'" He came near to her, and the woman said, "Are you Joab?" He answered, "I am." Then she said to him, "Hear the words of your servant." He answered, "I am listening." Then she spoke, saying, "They used to say in old times, 'They shall surely ask counsel at Abel,' and so they settled a matter. I am among those who are peaceable and faithful in Israel. You seek to destroy a city and a mother in Israel. Why will you swallow up Yahweh's inheritance?" Joab answered, far be it from me that I should swallow up or destroy. The matter is not so, but a man in the hill country of Ephraim, Sheba, the son of Bichri by name, has lifted up his hand against the king, even against David. Just deliver him, and I will depart from the city." The woman said to Joab, "Behold, his head will be thrown to you over the wall." Then the woman went to all the people in her wisdom. They cut off the head of Sheba the son of Bichri, and threw it out to Joab. He blew the trumpet, and they were dispersed from the city, every man to his tent. Then Joab returned to Jerusalem, to the king. Now Joab was over all the army of Israel. Benaiah the son of Jehoiada was over the Cherethites, and over the Pelethites. Adoram was over the men subject to forced labour. Jehoshaphat the son of Ahilud was the recorder. Sheva was the scribe. Zadok and Abiathar were the priests, and Ira the Jairethite was chief minister to David. There was a famine in the days of David for 3 years, year after year, and David sought the face of Yahweh. Yahweh said, "It is for Saul, and for his bloody house, because he put the Gibeonites to death." The king called the Gibeonites and said to them, Now the Gibeonites were not of the children of Israel, but of the remnant of the Amorites, and the children of Israel had sworn to them. And Saul sought to kill them in his zeal for the children of Israel and Judah. And David said to the Gibeonites, "What should I do for you? And with what should I make atonement, that you may bless Yahweh's inheritance?" The Gibeonites said to him, "It is not a matter of silver or gold between us, and Saul or his house. Neither is it for us to put any man to death in Israel." He said, "I will do for you whatever you say." They said to the king, "The man who consumed us, and who plotted against us, that we should be destroyed from remaining in any border of Israel, let 7 men of his sons be delivered to us, and we will hang them up to Yahweh in Gibeah of Saul, the chosen of Yahweh." The king said, "I will give them." But the king spared Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, because of Yahweh's oath that was between them, between David and Jonathan, the son of Saul. But the king took the 2 sons of Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, who she bore to Saul, Armoni and Mephibosheth, and the 5 sons of Merab, the daughter of Saul, whom she bore to Adriel, the son of Barzillai, the Mehelathite. He delivered them into the hands of the Gibeonites, and they hanged them on the mountain before Yahweh, and all 7 of them fell together. They were put to death in the days of the harvest, in the first days, at the beginning of the barley harvest. Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, took sackcloth and spread it for herself on the rocks, from the beginning of the harvest, until water poured on them from the sky. She allowed neither birds of the sky to rest on them day by day, nor the animals of the field by night. David was told what Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, the concubine of Saul, had done. So David went and took the bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan his son from the men of Jabesh Gilead, who had stolen them from the street of Beth-shan, where the Philistines had hanged them in the day that the Philistines killed Saul in Gilboa. And he brought up from there the bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan his son. They also gathered the bones of those who were hanged. They buried the bones of Saul and Jonathan his son in the country of Benjamin, in Zelah, in the tomb of Kish his father, and they performed all that the king commanded. After that, God answered the prayer for the land. The Philistines had war again with Israel, and David went down and his servants with him, and fought against the Philistines. David grew faint, and Ishbenob, who was one of the sons of the giant, the weight of whose spear was 300 shekels of bronze in weight, he being armed with a new sword, thought he would kill David. But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, helped him, and struck the Philistine and killed him. Then the men of David swore to him, saying, "Don't go out with us to battle any more, so that you don't quench the lamp of Israel." After this there was again war with the Philistines at Gob. Then Sibbecai the Hushathite killed Saph, who was one of the sons of the giant. There was again war with the Philistines at Gob. And Elhanan, the son of Jair Go-Gerim, the Bethlehemite, killed Goliath, the Gittite's brother, the staff of whose spear was like a weaver's beam. There was again war at Gath, where there was a man of great stature who had 6 fingers on every hand, and 6 toes on every foot, 24 in number, and he was also born to the giant. When he defied Israel, Jonathan, the son of Shimei, David's brother, killed him. These 4 were born to the giant in Gath, and they fell by the hand of David, and by the hand of his servants. For the chief musician, with the flutes, a psalm by David. Give ear to my words, Yahweh. Consider my meditation. Listen to the voice of my cry, my King and my God, for I pray to you. Yahweh, in the morning you will hear my voice. In the morning I will lay my requests before you, and will watch expectantly. For you are not a God who has pleasure in wickedness, Evil can't live with you. The arrogant will not stand in your sight. You hate all workers of iniquity. You will destroy those who speak lies. Yahweh abhors the bloodthirsty and deceitful man. But as for me, in the abundance of your loving kindness, I will come into your house. I will bow toward your holy temple in reverence of you. Lead me, Yahweh, in your righteousness because of my enemy. Make your way straight before my face, for there is no faithfulness in their mouth. Their heart is destruction, their throat is an open tomb. They flatter with their tongue. Hold them guilty, God. Let them fall by their own counsels. Thrust them out in a multitude of their transgressions, for they have rebelled against you. But let all those who take refuge in you rejoice. Let them always shout for joy, because you defend them. Let them also who love you, your name, be joyful in you, for you will bless the righteous. Yahweh, you will surround him with favor, as with a shield. Yahweh, don't rebuke me in your wrath, neither chasten me in your hot displeasure. For your arrows have pierced me, your hand presses hard on me. There is no soundness in my flesh because of your indignation, neither is there any health in my bones because of my sin, for my iniquities have gone over my head. As a heavy burden, they are too heavy for me. My wounds are loathsome and corrupt, because of my foolishness. I am in pain and bowed down greatly. I go in mourning all day long, for my waist is filled with burning. There is no soundness in my flesh. I am faint and severely bruised. I have groaned by reason of the anguish of my heart. Lord, all my desire is before you. My groaning is not hidden from you. My heart throbs, my strength fails. As for the light of my eyes, it also has left me. My lovers and my friends stand aloof from my plague. My kinsmen stand far away. They also who seek after my life lay snares. Those who seek my hurt speak mischievous things and meditate deceits all day long. But I, as a deaf man, don't hear. I am as a mute man who doesn't open his mouth. Yes, I am as a man who doesn't hear, in whose mouth are no reproofs. For I hope in you, Yahweh. You will answer, Lord my God. For I said, don't let them gloat over me or exalt themselves over me when my foot slips, for I am ready to fall. My pain is continually before me. For I will declare in my iniquity, I will be sorry for my sin. But my enemies are vigorous and many. Those who hate me without reason are numerous. They who render evil for good are also adversaries to me, because I follow what is good. Don't forsake me, Yahweh. My God, don't be far from me. Hurry to help me, Lord, my salvation. For the chief musician, a psalm by David. Blessed is he who considers the poor. Yahweh will deliver him in the day of evil. Yahweh will preserve him and keep his life. He shall be blessed on the earth, and he shall not surrender him to the will of his enemies. Yahweh will sustain him on his sick bed, and restore him from his bed of illness. I said, Yahweh will have mercy on me. Heal me, for I have sinned against you. My enemies speak evil against me. When will he die and his name perish? If he comes to see me, he speaks falsehood. His heart gathers iniquity to itself. When he goes abroad, he tells it. All who hate me whisper together against me. They imagine the worst for me. An evil disease, they say, has afflicted him. Now that he lies, he shall rise up no more. Yes, my own familiar friend in whom I trusted, who ate bread with me, has lifted up his heel against me. But you, Yahweh, have mercy on me, and raise me up, that I may repay them. By this I know that you delight in me, because my enemy doesn't triumph over me. As for me, you uphold me in my integrity, and set me in your presence forever. Blessed be Yahweh, the God of Israel, from everlasting to everlasting. Amen and amen. For the chief musician, a contemplation by the sons of Korah. As the deer pants for the water brooks, so my soul pants after you, God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When shall I come and appear before God? My tears have been my food, day and night, while they continually ask me, where is your God? These things I remember and pour out my soul within me, how I used to go with the crowd and led them to God's house with the voice of joy and praise, a multitude keeping a holy day. Why are you in despair, my soul? Why are you disturbed within me? Hope in God, for I shall still praise him for the saving help of his presence. My God, my soul is in despair within me. Therefore I remember you from the land of the Jordan, the heights of Hermon from the hill Mizar. Deep calls to deep at the noise of your waterfalls. All your waves and your billows have swept over me. Yahweh will command his loving kindness in the daytime. In the night his song shall be with me, a prayer to the God of my life. I will ask God, my rock, why have you forgotten me? Why do I go mourning because of the oppression of my enemy? As with a sword in my bones and my adversaries reproach me, while they continually ask me, where is your God? Why are you in despair, my soul? Why are you disturbed within me? Hope in God, for I shall still praise him, the saving help of my countenance and my God.